Black Sabbath with the Mob Rules here on Vaquero Radio. Good morning, Vaqueros. DJ Doc V here with you. You're listening to Office Hours. Thanks for tuning in this morning. It is Friday, January 31st, 10:03 a.m. Central Time, Texas time. And we've got some great music picked out for you this hour, including, let's see what we got here. David Bowie coming up, Genesis, probably some CCR we'll get in there as well. So make sure you stay tuned. The weather here in the beautiful Rio Grande Valley. Right now it's 68 degrees. We're looking at a high this afternoon in the 80s, 82 degree high today. And then on tomorrow, high of 80. On Sunday, high of 84. And then back in the 80s on Monday and Tuesday, 86 and 85 respectively. Very little chance of precipitation or rain. So prepare for the weather, but you should be able to enjoy this weekend. Maybe go out to the island and get some beach time in there. That'd be great. Thanks for tuning in. We've got This Day in History, as we do every week on Office Hours. That comes up at the bottom of the hour. It is the last day of January, and we've got some athletic stuff going on this weekend. While the track and field, both men's and women's, are on the road, it looks like they're in Lubbock, Texas this weekend. We've got women's tennis versus Texas A&M University Kingsville in Edinburgh. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Saturday. And then at 2 p.m. and 4:30 p.m., we've got our regional rivals, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, coming to town. Women's basketball at 2 and men's basketball at 4:30 for the South Texas Showdown. That'll be tomorrow. So remember, bring your student ID to the field house. You get in free. There's a student section there, and you can cheer on the Vaqueros as they take on our arch rivals, the Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders. And that'll be tomorrow. So make sure you avail yourself of all the opportunities to get involved and to come out and support our athletic teams. Hopefully your first 2 weeks in the spring semester went well. I'll say our classes are going pretty well so far, and looking forward to the rest of this semester. So let's get back to the music. Let's keep it on a high note here. How about a little Boston? There's a nice tune for you from their self-titled first album. This one's Peace of Mind, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley Student Station. David Bowie with Starman, recorded and released in 1972. That's an old one there. Released on April 28th of 1972. RCA Records, the lead single of his fifth studio album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Kind of a concept album, I guess you could say. The Ziggy Stardust was probably, one of his more iconic tunes, and essentially a role that he played on stage. Bowie, way ahead of his time when he was out there in the early 70s. That tune, co-produced by Ken Scott, recorded at Trident Studios in London in February of 1972 with the backing band known as the Spiders from Mars. So that was a great tune. And if you haven't seen Wes Anderson's film, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, a lot of Bowie tunes are in that soundtrack, but they're covers done by an artist by the name of Seu Jorge, who's a Portuguese descent, and he sings all of the Bowie songs. Essentially, it's an acoustic version, and he sings them in Portuguese. It's really great if you get a chance. I'm sure I've played one of those on Office Hours before, so. Check that album out. The whole album is really, really good. Seu Jorge, great artist, great Portuguese artist. The weather here in Edinburgh, as of right now, 71 degrees. It's already gone up a couple of degrees here in Edinburgh. We're expecting mostly sunny skies. Some clouds maybe rolling in the afternoon. Overnight low of about 50 degrees. So maybe you can open the windows at night and turn the air conditioner off. I don't know. I really can't sleep if it's too hot. So unless it's really cool outside and I'm able to get my temperature in the house below or around 72, I have trouble sleeping. So I'll probably have to keep my windows closed tonight. But make sure you go out this weekend and support our Vaquero athletic teams. Big day tomorrow. We've got the Corpus Christi Islanders coming in from Texas A&M up in Corpus. They're really our big rivals. This is a big weekend for us. Women's basketball plays at 2, men's basketball at 4:30. And when you get your ticket, it's good for both games. So that's really great. Make sure you do that. Our listeners around the country, we've got 38 degrees in Grand Rapids, Michigan. 40 degrees in Westboro, Massachusetts. 37 degrees in Spokane and rain, it looks like there. Sorry about that, Steve. Stay dry. But coming up in just a few minutes, we've got our This Day in History, which we do at the bottom of the hour. But right now, how about some music? That's Coldplay with Yellow on Vaquero Radio. Good morning, Vaqueros. DJ Doc V with you here for the next half hour or so. Before that, you heard Cigarettes After Sex with Office Hours. With Opera House. Same initials, OH. Office Hours, Open Opera House. Easy to confuse, I guess. Good morning, 10:35 on Friday, January 31st. 71 degrees in the beautiful upper Rio Grande Valley. Looks like that blue sky is trying to come out. We've got some clouds here this morning, but that's all right. As we do every week on Office Hours, we've got This Day in History. And on January 31st in 1606 at Westminster in London, Guy Fawkes, a chief conspirator in the plot to blow up the British Parliament building, jumps to his death moments before his execution for treason. On the eve of a general parliamentary session scheduled for November 5th, 1605, Sir Thomas Knevet, a justice of the peace, found Guy Fawkes lurking in the cellar of the Parliament building. Fawkes was detained and the premises thoroughly searched. Nearly 2 tons of gunpowder were found hidden within the cellar. In his interrogation, Fawkes revealed that he was a participant in an English Catholic conspiracy organized by Robert Catesby to annihilate England's entire Protestant government, including King James I. The king was to have attended Parliament on November 5th. Over the next few months, English authorities killed or captured all of the conspirators in the gunpowder plot, but also arrested, tortured, or killed dozens of innocent English Catholics. After a brief trial, Guy Fawkes was sentenced, along with the other surviving chief conspirators, to be hanged, drawn, and quartered in London. On January 30th, 1606, the gruesome public executions began in London, and on January 31st, Fawkes was called to meet his fate. While climbing to the hanging platform, however, he jumped from the ladder and broke his neck, dying instantly. In remembrance of the gunpowder plot, Guy Fawkes Day is celebrated across Britain for every year on the 5th of November. As dusk falls in the evening, villagers and city dwellers across Britain light bonfires, set off fireworks, and burn an effigy of Guy Fawkes, celebrating his failure to blow up Parliament and James I. That's on this day in 1606. If that name sounds familiar or that date sounds familiar, if you're a fan of V for Vendetta, the Guy Fawkes mask that was worn by the main character V, the movie starts off with a little bit of description about what happened and Guy Fawkes' place in history. So, maybe it's ironic that the election that just passed in November was on November 5th. So we can still say, remember, the 5th of November. Also on this day in history, in 1950, President Truman announces the development of an H-bomb, a hydrogen bomb, which was supposed to be magnitudes more powerful than the bombs we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end World War II. Keep in mind that in the 21st century, in 2025, the United States is still the only country ever to use nuclear weapons on other human beings. In 1971, Apollo 14 departed for the moon, piloted by astronauts Alan Shepard Jr., Edgar Mitchell, and Stuart A. Roosa. A successful launch from Cape Canaveral in Florida on a manned mission to the moon. On February 5th, after suffering some initial problems in docking the lunar and command modules, Shepard and Mitchell descended to the lunar surface on the third U.S. moon landing. Upon stepping out of the lunar module, Shepard, who in 1961 aboard Freedom 7 was the first American in space, became the fifth astronaut to walk on the moon. Shepard and Mitchell remained on the lunar surface for nearly 34 hours conducting simple scientific experiments, such as hitting golf balls into the space with Shepard's golf club, collecting 96 pounds of lunar samples. On February 9, Apollo 14 safely returned to Earth. Also on this day in history, the Viet Cong attacks the U.S. Embassy in Vietnam, part of the Vietnam War. And also, the Lone Ranger debuts on Detroit radio in 1933. And finally, on this day in 1990, the first McDonald's restaurant opens in the Soviet Union, in Moscow. Throngs of people line up to pay the equivalent of several days' wages for Big Macs, shakes, and fries. That's this day in history, as we do every week. Thanks for listening to Office Hours. We're here until the top of the hour, 72 degrees and sunny skies in Edinburgh right now. And we've got a little bit of Counting Crows coming at you. This one is a cover for the Joni Mitchell tune, Big Yellow Taxi, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. That's Faith No More from, what's the name of their record? Oh, I forget. Oh, it was I remember the album cover. It's like a black and brown thing with a splash. I don't know. I forget. that was Faith No More with Falling to Pieces. We started it off with a Genesis and Misunderstanding from their Three Sides Live album. Although there's two vinyl records in that collection, and only 3 of the sides are live, and then the other one is studio recording. So that's why they called it Three Sides Live. As we do every week on Office Hours, I've got some poetry picked out for you. This is from the Gallery Magazine edition in 2018. And it's a good one. It's a poem by the author is Mayanin Rosa, and it's called Chingonas Write Poetry. I read about women through men. I am romanticized and demonized on the same page. Men are prolific. Women are boiled down to period poetry and the word sentimental. Anzaldúa is turning in her grave, and Warsan Shir spits on the ground. My idols call me to action. I need to write, be nasty, grosera, chingona. Spill blood onto paper and embrace my brown skin so tightly, no one will forget how bright, how hot my shooting star burns. I will bare my teeth, pen in hand, transcribe love, pain, and fire into words. I'll give those bestsellers and the white men and their sexy cigarette poetry a good scare. That's a poem titled Chingonas Write Poetry by Mayanin Rosa from the 2018 edition of Gallery Magazine, another great production of UTRGV Student Media. If you're not a fan on Facebook, on social media platforms, make sure you check out UTRGV Student Media. We are comprised of course, Vaquero Radio, as you're listening right now, but also KVAQ TV, the Rider newspaper, which is a weekly newspaper available on campus, and also Pulse Magazine and Gallery Magazine, all under the umbrella of UTRGV Student Media. And there's some great creative students that put these publications and broadcast outlets together. Make sure you pick up the Rider as you go to, as you go around campus. We've got dispensers all over there in the library, in front of the Liberal Arts North building, and most buildings. So pick up a copy of the Rider. Get your news, what's happening here in the Rio Grande Valley. Thanks for listening, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. We're going to leave you with another, I guess this is a classic punk, new wave. What do you call Fishbone? I don't know. Steve, what do we call Fishbone? Here's Ma and Pa, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station.